concerns to us, to the panel here today. Any queries that you have, any worries that you have. It is a time, as we said on our Eventbrite post, it is a time for you to find the calm, whether it's at home or it's at work. And looking at is what is happening. People are feeling very anxious and very stressed and finding it hard to focus. So, with the experts today, that we are hoping that you will all walk away with some take-home actionable tips that you can use straight away to help alleviate the anxiety, alleviate the stress, and alleviate the worry. We had a plan to launch this event tonight in the Huckletree in Dublin. It was going to be a gorgeous live event, a This Is Me event, which is really all about not changing your life, but changing how you approach it, changing how you feel about it. Something that we all know from being extremely busy, from running around, whether it's with families or dependents. It's something that we wanted to help share tips and advice with each other. So instead of that being cancelled, we decided to bring it online. So we are absolutely thrilled to have each and every one of you with us, whether you're listening, whether you're watching, whether you're curled up with a cup of tea, whether you have your jammies on and hair scraped back, whatever way you are, we are delighted to have you here with us. And as I said, this is your event, so do send your questions into us, as many people have, and thank you for that. We just decided to make a little bit of an effort. We smell beautiful. Whatever your favorite perfume is, we're wearing it. Whatever shoes you think goes with this outfit, we have them on. Let me tell you, whatever you think the background is here, it is even better. But yes, as I said, this is your event. And now let me introduce to you our panel. We will be continuing these events as a series. Bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. This is our first webinar. There will be boo-boos. There will be maybe possibly technical hitches. There will be times when somebody's talking and they're muted. These things will happen, but a bit like our lovely Claire Byrne in the shed with, she had the lovely lamp. We have you, we have each other, and we will get there. It is wonderful to clap and support our healthcare workers who are working around the clock now, and we know that everybody is trying to do their bit, and it is a struggle. If you're working from home for the first time and you have family or friends or dependents around you, if you're worried about catching the virus, again, the anxiety, the stress, those feelings, if you're worried about work, your career, your payments, your mortgage, your rent, we can't change those things, but what our three panelists can do today is help you to deal with them in a better way. Okay, so let me introduce them to you properly. So we have Siobhan Murray. As I said, she is a psychotherapist and a life coach. You may have heard of her or read her book, The Burnout Solution. You may have seen her on the television. You may have heard of her new course, which has gone online. If not, you're going to hear a huge amount about her this evening and from her and her advice. We have Allison Keating. You can give a wave to us because you are labeled here as Fiona Brennan. Yes, psychologist and also best-selling author of The Secret Lives of Adults. And we'll have much more detail as well on Allison in a couple of minutes' time, and you may also hear her each week on the Ray Darcy show. We have Fiona Brennan, who is clinical hypnotherapist and also best-selling author. This time Fiona's book is called The Positive Habit. So I'm kind of keen for the ladies to get going, and the first thing we can do to kind of get the ball rolling so that you can hear our panelists is for each one of them to start off, just after that applause, for me to stop talking and for them to say, what is the most important thing, Siobhan, that you wish you could share with people, given your experience, given your expertise at this time?
Oh, that was just amazing, Taragh. Wow. I'm sitting here going, I want to be an attendee. I don't want to be a panelist on this today. And thank you so much. And I know, and I will say thank you from the minute that I came to you with this idea, that you were so on board, not really knowing and bearing with me, as we all have bared with each other in trying to figure this out. And what I would say, and the biggest thing that I am repeating to myself, is control the controllables. Because right now, this is like a marathon without a finish line. We don't know what's happening next week. 2 weeks ago, we were told the kids will be back in school on the 29th. And I think initially, when it was in the very early stages, we may have thought, okay, that's what's going to happen. But we were kind of going, oh, maybe to Easter holidays. We don't know. And we have, our minds are going further down the road. Bring it right back. Control the controllables. If the controllable today is, what are you putting on the dinner table? Let that be what you're going to control today, not the thoughts of when, what, if, and how further down the line. So that's kind of my top one right now.
Absolutely lovely. I think you hit the nail on the head to get us rolling here. Fiona.
Um, yeah, I suppose it's very similar in the sense that I think what we really need to do is be present. And what I think this presents to us all is obviously a huge challenge, but also an incredible opportunity. And I find it myself, like you were saying, Siobhan, very useful to apply that to myself to help me through it. So cultivating a sense of presence, a sense of, really being here now. And it's not even, just for the day, it's just this moment, because there is so much fear. And I think we can't pretend it's not there. It is there. It's almost palpable, it's in the air. You go to the supermarket, even on the street, people are, the whole social distancing, it's just can create so much unease and unrest in our hearts and our souls. So I do really reiterate that sense of practicing presence, because when you're present, when you're here, when you're now, you have the opportunity for comfort, you have the opportunity for growth, and you have the opportunity to really dig deep within yourself in terms of whatever sort of your mental health was like even before this happened. I think it now is a chance to really start to get to know yourself better, and to see how you respond and how you react to what is, a pandemic, and something that is it's only normal that we're going to feel fear. So the more that we can bring ourselves back to the moment, the more we feel empowered. We feel that we have some sense of hope and compassion and care for ourselves in the moment.
That's great, Fiona. I'm looking at some of the messages that are coming in here, and I think a lot of people are thinking similarly. We need take-home actionable tips for now. We need things that are useful from right after we listen to each of you three. And I've already, Fiona, you have a great gift that you're going to give people at the end of this. In fact, each of the three of you have a gift, a take-home actionable gift that we can use tonight if we need to start with. I've done and listened to some of yours already, Fiona, and it's already helped me in terms of mentality, positive mental attitude, and an approach that has calmed, and that even we can use, whether it's our approach to work, our approach to coming into a crazy household when we're trying to work from home. So I love that. And also, Allison, as we come to you now, so as a chartered psychologist, you have your own clinic, Be Well in Malahide. You've been working for 20 years in this area, and people may know you from the TV show as well. And I know that each of you are very well known across different media. One of the things, Allison, is the anxiety levels at the moment. We are, even if we're putting on the front, look at the four of us here, despite no hairdressers, please do not zoom in on my nails. Despite no hairdressers, yay, okay, let's do it. Naked nails. So we're putting our best face forward, but the underneath, it's that swan feeling, gliding along, and the legs are going 90 to the dozen. That anxiety, those levels, Fiona, or Fiona, I keep looking at your picture, Alison. What can we do? What advice do you have for us on that? And then we'll kick off into our questions. Thank you.
I think, like the girls are saying, when we all met, we just connected instantly. We were like kindred spirits, and there was such a beautiful connection there. And I mean, the whole idea of this was about this is me. It doesn't get more real and authentic than what we're experiencing at the moment. And it's not just an idea. Every single one of us are in this, all of us are worried. And I think what we can do is greet that fear, face on, and to give ourselves a bit of space to kind of be an observer of our thoughts, because I think it becomes overwhelming when it is every single aspect of your life. As you said, it's the mortgage. Can I pay the bills? Will I have a job? How are the kids? How's my parents? How are my old neighbors? I mean, it is huge. So I think even just writing down all your fears, because when they're in your head, they fly off in too many directions. There's too many things for us to be worried about at the moment. So I would put all those fears on paper, and I would greet it with compassion. And that might mean having a big cry You know, connect with the feelings in your heart or in your stomach. Is it fear? Is it sadness? This is the most human experience we've ever had collectively, ever. And I think let's be human about it. Let's be real. You know, let's be honest that one day you're like, okay, I've got this. The next day it's like, you know, and that's okay. Let's be normal. Let's drop our standards. You know, good enough is one thing I would really encourage people with. You know, if the schoolwork is not going, the school I'm no teacher. I'm no school teacher, that's for sure. You know, kudos to the teachers. I think just let's do what we can. But I see a connection coming back that is more authentic than I've seen for years, based upon all my work, you know, in the clinic with people feeling so isolated. It is weird. We actually have social isolation now, but we are connecting more and more. I'm sure you all are as well.
There's a gorgeous video that was doing the rounds, where they were talking about the positive sides to this. And I mean, look, I think we have to be very careful when we say that, because it is killing people. It is terrifying. It is, and has been thankfully taken very seriously across the world. But I think the skills as well for dealing with the stresses, this is a massive one. As for all of us, it's massive. And I think in that we are united. We cannot switch off at the moment. There is no switching off time, because you might have your commute. I remember there was a guy, one of the heads of 2FM, who used to say that on his commute home, on his bike, commute home, when he hit the toll, the toll bridge, he would switch off and he'd go into his work head as he crossed over towards work, and on the way back he'd switch into his I hope he hasn't identified himself now from that description, he would switch back into his home head, you know. And only if calls came, emergency calls across those bridges into those lives, he was in the work mode or in the home mode. There is none of that now. You have no commute currently. I mean, I'm still working away on Liveline and we're taking turns in and out of the office, so it's slightly different there, but it is very difficult to switch off. It's very difficult to, even if we have a great question in actually from somebody who is sharing working from home, minding the kids with her husband. One of them is doing the morning shift and one of them is doing the afternoon. And no doubt they're both probably back on again in the evening. So thank you if you're logging on and listening to your answers to your questions right now. You're very welcome. So they are finding they can't switch off. And it's not a solution, obviously, for the whole country to turn to something. Chocolate. Yeah, I know. Okay. An ad for Curly Whirly. Okay, actually, if I'm being really honest, and this is about it being our authentic selves. Okay, 2 bars of chocolate and I had my dinner. Yeah, so I've obviously gone for the sugar, but we can't all do that. And we're, you know, not only because we'll be eating into our sugar spice, it's not healthy, but it's not good for us. We're looking for something else. Do you have, maybe Alison, if you want to start on this, what is your advice to this couple? How do they switch off? And I think we can all relate to it.
I think just acknowledge it. You know, a lot of things in therapy, and I'm sure you find the same, ladies, is that it's counterintuitive. When you actually acknowledge that you can switch off, there's kind of a softening in that you're not fighting against the frustration that you know you should be turning off, but you can't. So I think just give yourself a bit of a break. And then, yes, I do think, if possible, can you find something that will bring your attention back to the here and now? It's something engaging. I know lots of people around the country are baking up a storm, but it might just be making a quick banana bread, and it makes you in that moment, but also you have something good at the end of it. And I think there's something lovely about that, because what the uncertainty is, as you said, it's a marathon with no end. It's that length of time that we don't know. It's that uncontrollable that is inducing that sense of, I can't concentrate, I can't switch off. So I think just this person can sit down with their husband and say, I'm really head wrecked, I cannot switch off. I know I should, but I can't. So bring the compassion in, and have a chat about what it's like for each other, and you're supporting each other in that. And you'd be amazed. It's like going for a walk. You know, 20 minutes in, you might find you're into a different conversation. There's no magic cure here, but it's about supporting each other with kindness, a sense of humor, and recognizing how incredibly difficult it is. Oh, and also switch off the phones then at nighttime. I know it's incredibly difficult, and I'm going to say I'm so guilty of it. Like, seriously, I'm not saying I'm good at this. I know my husband's watching, so I can't lie. And it's really tough. But if you want to have a good night's sleep, that's the thing to do.
I think this is a big one. I'm seeing other chats coming in on this as well. So Siobhan, you want to come in there?
Just very quickly, just on that whole work thing of not having the commute, just to follow in what you're saying, Alison, one of the things that I've been working from home predominantly for a long time. I created that situation as a single mum. I had been corporate for years when they were getting bigger, and I couldn't juggle the two. So I created the world that I have. So I'm used to working from home, but a lot of people have been catapulted into this and have never done it. And you actually brought up something very, very sort of very subtle that people have lost, which is the commute. Yeah. And the commute is that gives you that opportunity to leave the dishes and the demands of, it could be a relationship you want to leave, it could be the kids you want to leave, whatever it is, to get to work. So whether you're going on the bus, you're driving, whatever way it is that you commute, and then flip it on the way back. You get to walk out the door of the office, sit in whatever, or walk or cycle, and give yourself that time. So if you don't have that, one, you're maybe getting up a little bit later because you don't have to get up for the commute. So what I would say, whether you're on your own, whether there's kids, whether there's a partner, whether there's two of you, is get out for 10 minutes. That's all. Imagine you're walking to work. Walk down to the end of the road, turn around, and walk back like you're walking back to work. And when you finish work at the end of the day, do the same thing. Literally close the laptop, finish what you're doing, and go. Don't go from wherever you're working to the kitchen to cook dinner. Do that 10-minute walk. And whether you have to bring the kids with you, this is not going to the park. This isn't the power walk to clear your head. This is your commute, and see it as the commute. So you are actually shifting your mindset to go from work mode to home mode. Because, and I will keep saying this is going to be long haul, not short haul. And if it is short haul, fantastic. We've won, we've won the battle that we're all in right now. But see it as a longer plan, and anything else is a bonus if it doesn't end up being like that.
Okay. What I would do, I'm unmuted. What I want to do is I see more people have joined us recently in the last couple of minutes to welcome you if you missed the beginning of our Zoom meeting, and well done getting in here and beating the technical obstacles that could have been there. Just to let you know, this is our This Is Me event. So how to create calmness in the coronavirus storm. We were going to have a live event on this evening, the first of a series that we were launching. So we will get there. It was going to be in the gorgeous Huckletree, and we will have that event. We will be coming to you from there when all of this is passed. But in the meantime, each of our three panelists wanted to give of themselves to you to share your worries, your concerns, whether it's about work, whether it's about home, whether it's about juggling, all this type of things that we have to juggle with right now, as well as the worries that surround coronavirus. So just to reintroduce our panel, if you have just joined us, and also this is your event. If there are questions that you have that we are not answering yet, pop them in. I'm seeing questions pop up here all the time. We can put them in as anonymous. We won't read your name out unless you want us to specifically. So they're popping up here in front of me. I'll get to them in a second. We have chats coming up as well and comments, so I'll read some of those out. But just to reintroduce our wonderful panel, in front of us here, you have Siobhan Murray, who with the gorgeous dark hair, who was just talking just there, who is a psychotherapist and also a life coach. And also all three of our panelists are best-selling authors. So the Burnout Solution for Siobhan, and also you can get their books on Audible. I'm a big fan of it. I find it a very great way to listen to books when I'm out and about, or in the car in the evenings when my hands need to do other things such as folding socks and jocks and all the other things. It's a great way to catch up on your books, and each of the women have, the ladies have recorded their books. And also then we have clinical hypnotist, and that is Fiona. They're the blonde with the glasses, and the other blonde is our chartered, yes, there she is, our chartered psychologist, and that is Allison Keating. And again, you know, you can, Be Well is Allison's clinic. I'm going to get to questions that are popping up here because they're distracting my eyes, which is great because they're flying in. Any tips for single parents on how to cope with everything at the moment without someone else to lean on and to share the worries? Good question. I see a lady nodding who would like to come in here, and a big grinny smile.
I think Siobhan needs to answer that.
Yes, and also explain why, Siobhan.
And after this, I'm actually going to take a back seat and let Fiona and Allison answer some questions. Because I am a single mum, and I've been a single mum since day one, and the boys are 13 and 14, and they are first year and second year. And the reality is, you know, I'm not saying my mum, she lives very close, because I am really scared and nervous for her. So I dropped a book over to her earlier, and I wouldn't, she said, come in. I went, no. And I said, now leave that book outside, don't touch it, I think for 12 hours, or put it in a bag, or, because I am nervous for her. So I don't have, this is the woman who would drop the dog food over for me. She'd drop a dinner over. So I've lost that support. I'm an only child. I don't have siblings. So, you know, the net gets closer. But what I am, and I'm going to say this, lower the bar. Take that bar that we as single parents push up because we want to do for our kids and for ourselves, and we put ourselves under so much pressure, is lower that bar. We have never collectively been in a situation like this before. This isn't just losing a job. This isn't just breaking up in a relationship. And I was thinking about this yesterday when we're just thinking about trauma. And, you know, we normally, people say, oh God, this happened and this happened, and it came in threes. This is coming in wave after wave after wave. So as a single parent, if my children don't get their homework done, this is not homeschooling, guys. This is the teachers, and if there's any teachers out there, I hope you will agree with me, the teachers pulled together, whether it's primary school or secondary school, as quickly as they could, a system, whether it's online, whether it's on kids' phones, whether it was giving them packs, whatever it was, to the best of their ability. They also, most of those teachers are at home with kids, juggling being a parent and working and trying to manage that as well. So 2 months of education is not going to have a failed Leaving Cert student. If you've got younger kids, you know, lower the bar. If you're giving beans on toast for dinner, that's fine. If you're giving some strange thing from the back of the freezer that you don't even know what it is, that's okay. Even if they don't eat it, but you do, it's okay. The one thing I will say is, and I don't drink, and those that do know me know I haven't, I gave up drinking 13 years ago, and by God, myself and Chardonnay, we were like that. We were the best friends. And my mum drinks, all my friends drink, but this is not the time for the glass of vino to become your friend in the evening. And that's all I say. I'm not an anti-drink person by any stretch of the imagination, but as a single parent, it is very easy. And especially now, we're not even going out to the movies or connecting with somebody or going for dinner or going for a walk and a coffee. You know, it's very easy to get in on yourself and go, I'll just pour myself a glass of wine and push it, those emotions back down. So all I would say, this not just to the single parents, to answer that question, but to everybody, is don't suddenly just see alcohol as a perceived distressor, because it's not. It's going to affect your sleep, it's going to affect your stress levels, and it's going to become a vicious cycle. But the biggest thing I would say is lower that bar. Bring that bar right back down. And yeah, bring it right back down.
Yeah.
We've got the rest of the time of our lives to bring the bar back up to wherever we want to. But as a single parent, and any parent,
Let me know in chat. You can see the chat at the bottom of your screen or your questions, but I think I may just speak for many people in saying that is great advice. My shoulders went down as you spoke. It takes the pressure off. I think these high standards that we put on ourselves to become a teacher, there was a great email sent from the principal of our primary school, Emer, and I have to say fair dues to her, because when I read it, I just reached in to wherever that is, and gave her a virtual hug to say thanks, because she said some of what you said there, but you brought it to the next level, Siobhan, which is what we needed to hear. There's a great question. Oh, and we did at the start of the session, if you're only joining us now, we did the big clap for all of our healthcare workers, the frontline workers. We featured an amazing carer on Liveline on RT Radio 1 today. So I was speaking to her before the program, an amazing woman, and who is in lockdown with her patient, who is also her friend. So people are doing above and beyond and amazing things at the moment, which is why each of our panelists wanted to be here to give up their services. So please do send in your questions. There's a great one here, Fiona, I'd love to put to you. As a healthcare worker and lone parent, so it covers a little bit of what Siobhan said, but a healthcare worker and a lone parent, I've been told to prepare a will, write out bank account details and passwords. There are times when fear is an appropriate and reasonable response, and anxiety is necessary to be so vigilant when it comes to using PPE, so obviously the personal protective equipment. Our self-care now consists of safety precautions, decontamination measures when getting home, and just being present. My colleagues and I are afraid, oh my God, but just doing the best we can for the people who need us. This is what we signed up for, and a bit more.
Well, I suppose that is that it's at its worst, isn't it? It's something that most of us can't really relate to, in the sense that it's so, you know, you are the person out there on the front line, and you're the person we're applauding. You're the person that is just inspirational, really. And I would say that it's quite deep. You know, as you say, you've been asked to prepare a will. That, you know, in itself is just even the word, even the thoughts around it. Of course, you're going to feel fear and anxiety, and there will be something wrong if you didn't. It's completely normal and completely natural, as you said yourself. So, what I would say there, though, is that again, it's that sense of going a little bit deeper, because what we're all facing, and particularly you, as we say, you're on the front line, is the ultimate fear of death. And I think that, you know, I see this a lot with my clients. Never mind, you know, COVID-19, before COVID-19, that fear is within us. It's part of being human. It's there from the very beginning of our evolution, when we feel a sense of, you know, our own mortality, our vulnerability. And I think that it is so imperative for us to do our best to become as comfortable with that vulnerability. And I know those are just words, but I think that when we, you know, to how to put that into practice would be really through activating your parasympathetic nervous system, through your breath. And I think that in order to counterbalance the huge amount of fear that is going to be there for you in particular, and for all of us, that we need to change the way we're breathing. And I say this all the time anyway, but I think we need it more now than ever. So even as you're asking me that question, you know, it's such a profound question that I am breathing as deep as I can to do my best to find the solution for you. And when I do that, what I'm doing for myself is just helping my whole system to start to feel safer. So when we're under threat, I think the more we can really help our systems to ground and to feel safer, we start to be able to really amaze ourselves in how we are capable and so much more adaptable than we perhaps ever imagined. So the breath is the tool that activates the vagus nerve, which is like a calming lever in our system. So when you breathe as deep as you can, and I'm going to do it at the end, we'll do a little meditation together, and I will actually, you know, just talk us through that. And what's so important is to remember how physical anxiety is and fear is. So we've got to work on that basis. We've got to work with it through the body and experience it and soothe it within the body. And that will help you to start to feel safer and help you to start to come up with the courage to go to make the will, etc. And to really, you know, to get through this as healthily and as well as you possibly can. But thank you for all you're doing. It's just honestly amazing.
Thank you, Fiona. That was a brilliant. Even listening in my mum's a nurse, and I just think that you were speaking to every healthcare person that we all are in supporting and love at the moment. My mum is a nurse. She is past retirement age and has been continuing to work, and was giving out when she found out that she wasn't allowed back on the front line. Was very upset with the HSE, and is working and helping from a behind the scenes. But that just shows her vocation. That just shows the dedication of our healthcare workers, that at the age, which I won't give away my mum's age, but at an age where she needs to not be at the front line and is so keen to help, will do anything to be there to do it. And I think our anonymous healthcare worker there sounds also like a very dedicated person. So thank you, Fiona, for that answer. Alison, I might come to you for this one, and if Siobhan and Fiona have anything to add on to this, because I think you all will on this. Dealing with family tensions. Elderly parents are always bickering. I think you could swap out elderly parents and put in whatever you would like there, always bickering at the moment. Certainly, I may or may not have experienced some of this in this house, maybe.
I'm just thinking about, you know, I'm sure we all watched Leo's speech, and it was so amazing, and the word I took out of it was cocooning, and I thought, I just loved that. I thought, you know, through this horrific situation, that, you know, hopefully we could all come back into ourselves in some way and take something from it, find some meaning from our suffering. But then I actually think about all the situations where, rather than it being a cocoon, it must be a horrific experience for people. And never mind, you know, everyone bickers, you know. Like when couples say to me, we don't fight, like a badge of honor, I go, uh-oh. I'm like, really? So, you know, all couples fight. It's important. We all bicker. What you're doing and you're saying is, this is important to me. This is what I value, and you're trying to figure it out. But there's a good and bad way to fight. There's so many levels within this, isn't there? There are houses where people are in really horrific situations now, from domestic abuse to alcohol abuse to people who emotionally, it's a toxic situation. Like we hear so much, and rightly so, about domestic and physical abuse. But to be quite honest, I think a lot of situations, and I'm always mindful that obviously I'm coming from my perspective, is that this is going to be a very, very trying time for couples. So the first thing I'd say is that, you know, maybe take a break from each other. Like, you can separate the house a bit and say, I'm going upstairs to the bedroom. I'm going to be there for 45 minutes. And like, do not disturb on the door. You know, I mean, there are some funny, you know, memes going around where people are saying, don't blink like that. Like, if that's how much you're annoying me, you know, I can hear you blinking. So like, we are all going to get on each other's nerves, and let's be normal and drop the standards again. But I think it's just to be patient with yourself. And I think also we bicker sometimes when we're feeling vulnerable, like what you were saying, Fiona. I think the vulnerability is the core feeling we're all feeling. And when we feel vulnerable, we feel insecure, and often we take that out on our partner then. So you might be having a fight about, why didn't you put the cup in the dishwasher? But what's it really about? You know, actually connecting in and saying, God, there's a lot going on at the moment, isn't there? Are you worried about your job? You know, but changing the tone from one of so easy just to get to a fight to one of actually bringing it back to connection, because you're vulnerable, because you're scared, because you're in a situation that neither of you want to actually be within. So I think it's just, again, laying it out there and recognizing that even if you're bickering, you can actually connect and just talk, or in certain situations, separate. One upstairs, one downstairs, 45 minutes, have a holiday. Do you know what I mean? I think it actually would be very, very healthy lock yourself in the bathroom, knock yourself out.
That's great advice. I think that's really, really good. And again, it's like a hug. It's just the shoulders go down. I mean, that is a great line. I can hear you blinking. It's very good. I think it ties in and brings us on to our next question, which I think all of you will want to come in on. So whoever feels that first. And I can relate to this because we're having daily Zoom meetings, which was interesting. I'm working with some frontline media, people who've been working in current affairs for years. I'm relatively new to the Liveline team. They're an amazing team and I'm one of the producers on it. So for a daily, we have an editorial meeting at 10. There's a question in here from somebody who's wondering, how long should the online team meetings last? Our team meetings are running over the hour and into the lunch break, and it's stressful. So she obviously wants to stay anonymous here, but it is something that a lot of people are using technology now, having these meetings in their home, tucked away under the stairs, Harry Potter like, and she's finding it very stressful. What advice do you have there, guys?
I'm going to just quickly jump in because I came from a corporate background, and I used to, when I was head of communications for McDonald's, one of my many careers and lives I've had to date, and I was the person, and this is, I'm not going to say how many years ago because then that kind of freaks me out. This was a while ago. I was the woman who took her watch off and put it in front of her. And again, for those that know me, I can go off in tangents and go down roads and chats and all the rest. And I would sit there and be, even back then, and go, there's time afterwards to talk about where you're going or what you're doing or what's happening. Focus, focus, focus. And that may sound harsh, but actually it was, I was supposed to be in a corporate doing a talk at lunchtime today, and between the jigs and the rails, it got put onto Zoom, and I was speaking to over 100 people, and it was something that came up in one of the questions of how to manage, and also what happens if one of the people or more in that Zoom call is quite toxic, who is finding, who's bringing down the energy of whatever's going on. I would become, in answer to that, I would actually become very boundary driven, that this is when the start is and this is when the end is. And if there are, 15 minutes before whatever time that meeting, this is really practical. This is not emotional. This is very practical. And if you don't feel that you're in a position to do that, that you're not able, it's not your team or that you're part of the team, I would send an email to your team leader, or if you are the team leader, I would become very boundary driven and say 15 minutes before we're finishing, and say we're finishing in 10 minutes. So you're even giving yourself a 5-minute buffer, but don't wait until the last minute to actually it also pops into mind in relation to Allison and Fiona. When I was doing my training for psychotherapy, we were told to work off a 50-minute hour and to start to finish up your session with a one-to-one therapy client about 20 to the hour, which would be 10 minutes before you finished, so that you're already starting to wrap up. You're not waiting to 2 minutes before you're to finish to go, okay, that's it. So to give yourself that practical, there's 15 minutes to go, ding, and even set an alarm on your phone, and make sure others know this. Say, this is what we're going to do because I've realized meetings are running over.
That's brilliant. I hope that answers the question there from our queer, whoever did send that in. Also, we have somebody, which Sheila would like to say a big collective thanks and support to the lone parent healthcare worker. She said she can't imagine how hard her life is right now. Couldn't have said it any better, Sheila. Thank you so much for that comment. Somebody else is asking, can we see you? No, we can't. You can see us. We can't hear you. We can't see you. You could be doing this naked right now, fair dues, enjoy, but no, we can't see you. So if you have just joined us, because again, I can see some people were having a little bit of difficulty getting on. Well done, you're here, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. So this is our This Is Me event. It is how to create calmness in the coronavirus storm. You have Siobhan Murray here, psychotherapist. You have clinical hypnotherapist Fiona Brennan, and you also have chartered psychologist Allison Keating, all best-selling authors here in their various professions with their books, The Burnout Solution, The Positive Habit, and I'm pointing to them, so that was The Burnout Solution, Siobhan. The Positive Habit is Fiona, and The Secret Lives of Adults is Allison Keating's book. So you may know them all from various media platforms. We're flying through questions here at our event. We wanted to be live with you this evening, but this is our first webinar event. So bear with us, do fly in. It's very informal. This is yours. We have take homes. Fiona's going to do a beautiful meditation at the end, a very relaxing one. Alison, I listened to it again earlier, and I'm glad I was sitting down, because it was so, my anxiety went. The shoulders, if you noticed, are down. For a lot of the past while, they've been up here. So it was a really beautiful gift. Thank you, Alison. I'm looking forward to other people. I'd love to hear what people think at our next one, what they think of that. And Fiona, you have got a very generous gift to share with people as well. Your online course has launched. Siobhan, you have advice and take-homes for people that you want them to be able to use on their walk tomorrow, whether it is from the sitting room to the kitchen. So we'll get to all of those. We want you to have actionable take-homes, practical things that you can do and use. We're going to fly through our questions again now. So over to Ryan. If you want to remain anonymous in the questions, don't worry. We have loads of them here are anonymous. We won't name them. Otherwise, we will happily do so for you. So Ryan had a bit of advice. We were talking earlier, perhaps it was Alison, about the benefits of nature, getting out every day. We know we're limited now in what we can do and how we can go. So if you can get to your little bit of a garden, if you have one at the front or back, or even if you are one of these wonderful people who manage to keep plants alive, not so good at it over here, but if you are, it's even this. I looked at with one of the kids, the smallest things, a little potted flower that they've kept alive, that they got from school. It's become a new thing, I'm looking at things in a different way. Girls, could you ladies share with us your advice on nature and how we, I know you don't, Eckhart Tolle talks about this a lot in The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, and some people may know him from his super soul conversations with Oprah, but from your own individual experiences, what type of simple everyday things? Alison gave us a great piece of advice on baking. We have Ryan here talking about nature, meditation, and a little bit of Netflix, I think, as well. Hopefully he doesn't mean Netflix and chill, but anyway, if you guys want to come in there on your very quick things that people can do in those 5 or 10 minute breaks to get them through. Fiona.
Yeah, like I was saying, I think it is an opportunity to connect inwards. So taking 5 minutes to breathe deeply, if you can, the idea of nature is really important at all times. And if you can't get out in nature, the imagination is a powerful tool. So for many of us, who can't get out for whatever reason, you can always go to a place in your mind that you love. And by doing that, your subconscious actually doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So, for example, I spent a lot of my childhood in Greece, and whenever I think of Greece, my whole body will just go into the most beautiful, calm state. And if you have a special place in your mind, it can be really useful to just anchor yourself in that place, no matter where you are. I think that's a really good one to do as well.
There's one of those examples where I just couldn't get to the unmute button in time, so I just mouthed louder. Love that. But I love that. That is really gorgeous. Did Alison, or I know you spoke baking earlier on, and Siobhan, you've spoken about nature and getting out there, and I know we'll come back to that towards the end. Another text in, and quite a serious note, and again, I think unfortunately, is it 400,000 people around the country are able to relate to this. I was let go at work last week. It says this person who's attending, and you're very welcome. Thank you for sending in your question. I was let go at work last week. Now, because of Leo's, so on Taoiseach's announcement of 70% pay, I got my job back. Now I feel totally let down by my company. Motivation is gone now to work there. Any suggestions? Very good question. Alison.
Hi. I'm just imagining what that's like for that person. And it's like, you know, the wind is just taken out of your sails, you know, so they feel like they've been let go, they've been rejected. But I think it's really important, and when we think about being optimistic, it's really important to be and to look at it from a perspective of not taking it personally. It wasn't you they were letting go. They had to let go of people because they couldn't afford it. And I'm so glad that they got their job back. But what happens is we have a psychological contract at work. And when that gets wounded, and nothing will wound it quicker than being let go, it's completely understandable that you feel the way that you do. So I think just sit with that for a moment. Sit with what the feeling actually is. Is it a feeling of vulnerability? Is it a feeling of more uncertainty on top of? And then often people, when they go back into the situation, think, I might be let go again, which is a possibility. So again, all of this is the same feeling that is increasing the anxiety of feeling so much uncertainty. But what I would say is just take one day at a time, and recognize that it wasn't a personal decision to you. I think that really helps pull back from it being like they picked me, because this is a situation that unfortunately everybody's facing, you know. But I really hope, and I do understand why they feel that way, but I think it's something that if you write out, sit with, go for a good fast walk, you know, punch a pillow, be angry about it. But some of these things are just so out of our control. And when we kind of sit with that and accept the unacceptable, it does actually feel a little bit more bearable. And I hope you're okay.
I've made a decision. I insist now, and I think we all agree, everybody watching, Siobhan, Fiona and Allison, you have to be on our webinars, on our computers, in our home all the time. Okay? From now on, you're just going to have to be here and life will be great. That was an amazing piece of advice. I can see the name of that person. I'm not reading them out, and I'm delighted you're here with us. And listening to Allison there, that I felt emotional for you, and I felt a connection to what you said. We all sometimes really identify as our job is part of our personality. It's part of who we are, and you're helping to unwrap that and to still feel upset and angry, but to be able to deal with the situation. Thank you. I hope that helped you. Let us know if you need any more details on that. A great question in here. So, how to manage kids fighting all the time when the husband and the wife are working from home? Again, not that I can relate to that at all.
What I would say there is, I think that we have to remember for kids that this is actually, if we find it hard, can you just imagine how hard they find it? Because basically our brain doesn't actually fully function properly. The prefrontal cortex of our brain doesn't fully become, you know, the emotional response system isn't fully activated till we're 25 years of age. Now that makes sense to me because I don't think I was emotionally very, you know, strong till I was at least 25. So for kids, I think we just need to be so patient, and we've got to remember how short childhood is. And this is actually quite a big part of their childhood, and it's going to be something that they remember. So really it does come down to us doing our best to be that rock for them. So yes, they're going to bicker. Yes, there's going to be teenagers who are finding it really hard. You know, if you can remember yourself what it was like to be that age, it was all about seeing your friends. It was all about, you know, the interaction with your peers. Having that taken away from you, it can feel like the end of the world. They themselves can't get their head around all the really, you know, more serious aspects of what's going on because it's just too much for them. They're you know, they seem to be very adaptable, but really they're not actually, haven't got the emotional sort of level of being able to cope with that for where they are. So they're doing their best, and I think that when we remember that and we really cultivate as much patience, and I think patience is the biggest thing here, And it comes, first of all and foremost, with being patient with ourselves. So when we're getting impatient with our kids bickering or complaining, which, you know, they're going to do, and it's totally understandable, I think we need to go back in, and the more internal work we do of helping ourselves to be patient with our own bickering inside, our own irritations, our own worries, fears, and concerns, the more we are able to sit and tolerate the distress and the pain of others and the bickering. So I think that's the work, is really on yourself, and then to extend that to our children, and just keep remembering, you know, I just keep saying it to myself. I have one son, he's on his own. It's even harder in many ways. So it's a sense of just keep reminding myself, you know, and I have to do it quite a lot of times, but it does really, really help me, and I hope it helps you.
Thank you, Fiona, for the honesty as well, and about your own situation. I think it always helps when we can relate to that, as well as your professional experience. That also answers another question I saw there about somebody struggling they've been working with you, I think they've been reading your book and The Positive Habit, and they were really getting there in terms of their positivity, but now with the coronavirus and COVID-19, they've been struggling. So I think that advice you gave there actually transfers over. Do you think?
Yeah, I think it does, because it's like, again, it's a new sort of, it's like we're being pushed even further. So this person, who I haven't seen your name, but thank you for reading my book, and a lot of that, you know, if you look at the chapter on hope, and hope is something that we need to focus on, because it is one of the greatest ways to soothe fear. And I think when we all can cultivate as much hope as possible, that is incredibly powerful. And we always have hope is there, you know, we have it now, and we've got to hold on to it. I think that's very helpful.
One of the things now, I'm looking at the time here, which is going way too quickly. So it's 8 minutes to 9. We promised we would have you out on time to get back to this in the sitting room, or whatever it is that you've been doing. And we have a question in about, which we'll get to now, about from a mom of 3 young children, another on concentration. We will be, again, letting you know about our next event, that This Is Me event, but we are very much focusing this evening on how to create calmness in a coronavirus storm. Thank you for your questions and comments. We've got at least 3 to fly through now before the end, and then each of our panelists want to share something with you. Take homes, actionable, we promise them, you'll get them. And I've tried them, and they are working. So hence the smile. Okay, so advice from a mom, any advice, and I know you've lots, for a mom of 3, ages ranging from 3 months, inty winty, to 8 years. She doesn't have, now this, I get this, I've been here, I think we've all been there. Don't have 5 minutes to herself. Her day starts at 7 a.m, probably earlier, and baby goes to sleep at 9:30 p.m. Too wrecked for that self-care hour at the end of the day. The days are running into each other. Hubby's still working away. Can't fit in headspace or even a proper conversation with my hubby. I'm nailing looking after my kids, but zero time for me. Firstly, I want to hug you. And ladies, what advice do we have for this woman? And many women, and men who are also carers.
You're a saint.
You're a saint. Say that louder.
You are a saint. Woo! Seriously. Like, the one thing I heard though is that you're nailing it with the kids. And this is what I'm seeing more and more, is that parents are doing such an incredible job. And like Siobhan's saying, like, it's about, you know, dropping the standards a little bit. Maybe we're all feeling this pressure to bake and garden and making origami. I don't know. It's like God almighty. So, you know, we got to find, I'd say if you could find like a minute. Do you know, I saw something really good. I follow the Mind Gym on Instagram, and she put up this brilliant thing the other day, and it was called kettle breath. And I was like, ooh, what's this? And basically she stood by the kettle and filmed the kettle boiling. And then she put up that we have to breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these were kettle breaths. And I was like, I can do that, you know. I think that's the level where we have to go with this. And when Fiona was talking about, you know, the kids bickering all the time and how people cope with that, it is like she's saying, you know, children will fight because they feel vulnerable, and that vulnerability comes out as fighting, which is absolutely really difficult on parents. Let's just be honest here. It really, really is. But just to bring it back to connection before correction. So that's a really tough thing to do when you see kids fighting and killing each other and I'm not saying it personally at all, of course. You know, and you're dealing with that like every 10 seconds. It's about standing back and going, I would take them off on their own. So I have a reverse kind of step. I take them out to the step to have a nice chat. It's a connection chat. So we sit on the steps on our own and just, I'm like, what's wrong? You know, what's going on? And then they'll be like, well, and whatever it actually is comes out. And then I swap over and I take the next one out. And like, this doesn't take long, but it always ends in a hug. You know, and I'm like, do you want a hug? And then they get a little hug and everything's better. And you feel them all like tight and tense and they want to kill the other person. And then they just melt a bit. And then they can go back and sort it out. And then, yes, so 5 minutes later, let's be serious here, you know, but it's just, it's bringing in, like, just trying to change that constancy of fighting. But the fighting is, like with couples, it's the same with kids. They are looking for attention, but it's not attention in the bad way that we think it is. They need connection. And that isn't about, you know, going for hours and hours and hours. It is just that, what's going on? Give me a hug. And then find some space for yourself. If it's kettle breaths, that'll do. If it's going out in the garden, taking a couple of deep breaths, that'll do. If it's hiding in the toilet, that'll do. But I know, like most mothers, that doesn't work anyway. They only follow me to the toilet as the door is knocked down. So I don't know, the toilet doesn't work for me.
I do remember going back to work after maternity leave and leaving the toilet door open because it was so used to it happening before. And as someone came in, I just had to scream, sorry, oh God, I can't reach the door. Please don't come in. But no, great advice. Lovely. I love that idea of the reverse, the positive step. I think that's really good. And actually, that advice kind of goes over. We have another query in, an anonymous one, which I'll throw to you, Siobhan, or to before we get into our wraps and our gifts to people. And I actually think that not only, Allison, is that advice relevant for parents, so for our lovely mum here, I actually think that advice is very valuable for bosses at the moment as well, who are good and managing their team. We have a wonderful PIC, producer in charge, Rebecca, and I think she might be taking us all out to this positive step a little bit recently, and we need it. I think we're all struggling a bit, and a great manager is going to do that. Okay, here's the question before we wrap up. I'm really struggling with concentration levels, and I'm sorry if you've seen us do this. It was a lovely thing one of us started. It's a way to clap without interrupting each other, and I may look silly, but it feels great. Do it, try it sometime. You'll feel like a bit of an idiot in the beginning, but actually it's lovely and it doesn't interrupt anybody and it still says thank you. I'm really struggling with concentration levels. I live on my own, so I'm still going to the office, which is practically empty, just to keep routine going, despite having lots of work leading a team. This might be one of our people I've just been talking about. Maybe you're one of those lovely managers who's having a tough time too. Despite having lots of work, leading a team of 20 plus, which are luckily really busy, I can't find motivation or concentration. It's taking me 10 times longer to do things I'd normally do in a few minutes. Is there anything I can do to help?
So I'm going to answer that. I just wanted to tag on to two things. One that Fiona answered and one that Allison answered. With the teenagers and younger adults at home, one of the things I would just say is, now that we're all sort of pressurized in this pressure cooker, rather than giving people jobs and being captains of the ship, ask them what jobs do they want. Ask them, what 2 jobs do you want? Because these are young adults, whether they're 12, 13 or 14, telling them they're rebelling at the best of times, but they don't if their boys have sports, if they're girls, their pals, whatever. So flip it. It's like what Allison was doing, the reverse step is flip it. Instead of giving them jobs, ask them what jobs are they willing to take. And just with the younger kids and that lady who had spoken about those 3 things, those three children and what to do and finding time. Here's the thing, and it seems so bizarre to say this in light of our current situation when we're told social distancing, which is now becoming physical distancing, but not a lot of people know this. It's 8 hugs a day for optimum mental health. And it's 12 to 14 to boost our mental health. So here we are, not getting our hugs from our extended family members or from our friends, or if you're a tactile person, you know, from your girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it is, you hug those that you can and make a point of hugging them as often as you can, because not only is it good for you, it's good for them. And this is going to sound even funnier. It's actually supposed to be 20 seconds per hug, which you mightn't quite get out of a teenager. But believe me, you know, if you bribe them, cookies, you know, whatever you do. But, you know, just remember that we've lost a lot of physical contact with others. And we've lost, for those working at home, we've lost a huge amount of social contact, the love and the hugs. We've lost that social contact. Like, remember when you go into the office on a regular basis, you're passing somebody by and you're having organic conversations about nonsense. And what we're not now is we're having to pick up the phone, and we're you know, I think we're great. We're using the phone. We're using all these different forms of technology, but they're very, how are you doing? Are you okay? Do you need any shopping? I want to kill my fill in the blanks conversations. We're not having those organic conversations. So just to be very mindful of that. In relation to the motivation, it's really hard at the moment. It's really hard because your mind is over here. So as I say, it's bringing it back to the controllables. At the moment, I have 4 controllables. I have 4 things that I have, and then I slot other things in. So it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a proper walk. If I get the walk to create that office environment and the going home environment, they're my top and tails. But to actually get out for a walk and a proper lunch, a proper dinner, knowing those 3 things, and then I go, okay, I have to get X, Y, and Z done. So I'm going to do an hour in the morning of getting my head around that. And the other thing I would say is pick 3 things a day of personal things on your to-do list and 3 work things. So don't have a massive, big, long list to do. It's 3 work, it's 3 personal. Once you've got those done, the brain automatically goes, if you've achieved those, you've gone job well done. If you've got 50 things on your to-do list and you go to bed and you've only got 5, you've 45 left, the brain goes, you've done a crap job. And we get into that negative automatic thought. So for motivation, I would nearly take the word motivation out, because that sounds like you've got to try and achieve new things. This is just about getting through the days until you build back up that self-worth and that self-confidence in who you are and what you do.
Those are things that I wish I could write down really quickly and put them all over and my mirror. So when I'm doing my teeth or boiling the kettle, Alison, that I can have them. The great tips in there. And I'm going to go and insist that I get some of those hugs and say that they are required for my health. So only obviously being careful of hand washing and all the rest of it. So guys, one thing I just want to ask each of you, and then I'm aware of the time. We've been very naughty, 4 minutes over. I hope you'll forgive us. A lot of you are still there, which is great. Almost really before we wrap up and talk about how we are going, what the take-home actionables that each Siobhan and Allison and Fiona are going to give you. Before we go to that, guys, we are now a few weeks in. The joy I'm seeing here from some messages of the idea of being around your loved ones all the time, the perceived joy of working from home, which is a new thing for many, is starting to wear off. Emotions are kicking in. Some people are talking about tears, some nightmares. Do you have, I know you've talked about some of these issues and the advice already, but now we're at this part of not the curve of the virus, okay? I'm talking about the fear, the anxiety, this new reality of working from home. Why is it now that people are getting very emotional dealing with the situation? It seems to be reaching a stage of the curve where it's becoming very real. Is that what it is?
I think because it is real, and I think that it's not just uncomfortable, but it's deeply painful. And when we're looking around, I think we're all heartbroken for what we're seeing. We are heartbroken and we're grieving. We're grieving as humans with the idea of what's having the choices that healthcare, people are having to make. I'm personally finding that immensely difficult. So I think, there's a collective grief that we're all experiencing. And to be honest, I'm not sure there is another way we could be. We can't cut off from that. We can't disassociate. As Fiona was saying earlier on, we're all very mortal, and we're being forced, whether being asked to write that will, which is really unbelievable. I do remember I was asked to write a will when I bought my house, and I was young and silly, and I signed it on April Fool's Day, and I giggled my way through it, having no sense of the reality of it. But now, as a mother, I have had to do that, and as a single mother, I couldn't even imagine the enormity of that. So I think what we just have to do is take the fear, sit it beside us, take the pain, sit it beside us, and support each other as much as possible. And there's a compassion in that I think will buoy us along, because we're not in control of that, but we are in control of, and I do love what Fiona was saying about the breathing. That would be my one core tip to everybody. You have that ability to send that signal to your brain when it's in an anxious state. You have the exact same signal by breathing to calm everything down. And it's so simple and beautiful, but really genuinely effective.
My battery's going low.
I love the practicalities. We're literally just holding it in there by the seams at the end. A lovely tip in to add to that beautiful response, Alison. Somebody saying, where you can, put your feet into grass or sand, even if it is in a play sandpit, a play sandpit at home. I think the kids will love that, and do that early. But there is another an employer in talking about being in a position where they're going to have to let people go soon. I normally would not try to squeeze this in towards the very end, but she is struggling with that. Am I right in saying, I know Fiona, you're trying to get your, there, you're back in.
I'm back, yeah.
And Alison and Fiona, am I right in saying that is a very stressful position to be in, but you've given some advice earlier on dealing with, especially in relation to somebody who was worried about their job, Alison, and also in relation to self-soothing, Siobhan and Fiona, the advice that you've given is as applicable there as it is here.
Sorry, I'm just... Are you asking me that?
Yes.
Sorry.
All of you, just that your advice that you've given to self-soothe, the advice that you've given about dealing with that distancing yourself from the situation, and knowing that, for example, this employer is being forced into a position. And this is not a personal decision, just as Alison said earlier when somebody was being let go. It was not about them. It was about finances. It was about business. It was about money. It was about cost cutting. It's not a judgment.
Yeah, and I think, I've seen and heard so many people who have been on the receiving end of being made unemployed, to the people that are having to make people unemployed, and the heartache on both sides is because these are small companies. And when I say small, it's anything that's not the big corporates. So whether it's a small to medium enterprise, these are people who have worked really hard to build their businesses up. And now they have, literally a month ago, they had fairly viable businesses, to now having businesses that have, in a click of a finger, has been taken away. The rug has been pulled out from underneath them. And I don't think anybody, even a month ago, anticipated, if you could have had that crystal ball and said, this is where we would be, I cannot even begin to be able to understand, because I have one member of staff who's like my best friend, to have to let people go, and to know those people personally, to know their stories, to know their families, to know about them, but to exactly what you were saying, that this is not personal, and that the support, the emotional support, and to know, I would say that this person would do anything they could when their business starts to become viable again, to employ their staff. I think when people get through the hurt and pain and the immediate shock of this happening to them, they're able to see, have the empathy outside of that compassion for what somebody else is having to go through as well, because nobody wants to be letting people go.
No, no, thank you.
I just wanted to also say, sorry, I was just looking at some of the questions, just to say that for anybody who had popped in, none of your names are accessible to anybody else. So please don't worry that anyone's names are popping up anywhere. Sorry.
That is really good to add that in. And also, always learning. We might say that earlier the next time, as opposed to the end. Before we wrap up and go to each of our panelists for their take-homes, I just want to say there's some gorgeous comments in there. Great advice about managing our fear and connecting with those we love. Made lots of notes. Brilliant. Loving the hugs. Fantastic webinar. Well done to all of you. We'll definitely do more of this, the hugs. And also some very good advice taken down there. And especially about the fighting and the in-house stresses from people working from home. Another and lovely one here as well, and I think it's very appropriate that we end on this message. I won't say the name of the person. Hi ladies, great event. I'm a GP. I spend my days trying to calm people down and reassure them all will be okay. I feel fine most of the time, but there are times when I'm scared about my sister who lives in London, about my dad who's a doctor. It's difficult to pretend to be brave all the time. Thank you for organizing. It's very useful. Thank you. That is a gorgeous message. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the messages that are coming in, and the loves and the kisses, and best of luck to that GP, to all of our healthcare workers who joined us this evening. So lovely that the ladies had the idea to start with the applause for all of you. Thank you so much. Siobhan, you would like to tell people, because we will continue the conversations. We are not closing down. This was a free event because genuinely each of our panelists wanted to give of their time and their expertise to help in any way they could tonight. Thank you for joining us. I hope you found it helpful. The conversation doesn't end here. Siobhan, what would you like to give to people, and how can they stay in touch with you?
So before I give my little tip, this is just one thing. We didn't do this. My other beauties is Taragh Loughrey Grant is the most incredible lady. I met her 3 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yes, I know.
Sorry, did I forget to mute myself?
And just for anybody who doesn't know Taragh, Taragh works on an RTE. I met her when she was working on RTE Lifestyle, and she was running the podcast, and she just blew me away by her ability to manage and facilitate and host events. She has done, numerous things. She is a mum of her eldest. She's going to kill me for saying this. Her eldest is actually 23. I know you're all sitting there going, oh my God, that little person. She is a producer on Liveline, and she very, very kindly gave up her time to do this for us tonight, for the three of us, because I couldn't think of anybody that I would trust to run an event for us in the way, with the kindness and the love. And so gratitude, I know when I say this, from myself and Allison and Fiona, she is just, thank you very, very much. And my tip I actually stole from Allison. So I say that with full congruence. And thankfully she wasn't going to give it away. I heard her do this. She did this with kids quite recently, and I have been telling adults to do it, is to get Post-its. Get a Post-it, write your worry, your stress, your issue on that Post-it, and then flip it over. And if you don't have Post-its, get a piece of A4 paper, rip it up into Post-it size, and on the back, cards, anything. And on the back, I want you to drill down 5 times. Why are you worried? Why are you worried? Why are you worried? Why are you worried? And why are you worried? Bullet point all around. Fold it over, put it in the jar. Get your kids to do it. Do it with your partner. Do it with somebody virtually. Do it with anybody. Do it with your sister in Australia. Don't care. Get it out of here into your jar, and then make a time that you're going to go back to that jar tomorrow. Not I'll do it whenever. Have a set time. You're going to go to that jar. You're going to take those worries out and you're going to look through them and go, am I still worried? Are those worries still as important as they were yesterday? Is that really a worry? And if it's not, rip it up. If you've got new worries, write them down. You know, get your parents to do it. Honor how they feel. Don't go, oh, don't be stupid, you're not going to get COVID-19. Let them say, I'm scared. Let them, if your kids are anxious, get them to write it down. Put it in the jar. But when you've got to the point where you've gone, actually, that's not a worry, rip it up, shuck it away. So that's mine.
As I rush to get to the unmute button quick enough, I'm scrolling over. Brilliant, brilliant, love it. I'm going to do that one. More people in there saying, excellent advice, ladies. Fantastic bunch of women. Golden advice. Thank you so much. Got so much from the meeting. As a mother of two, I've been losing my head so many times. Now I feel I have the tools to deal with my emotions. Thank you. Alison.
Yes. Just one thing, I would love to give everybody my Anxious Less MP3. So I have a link to it in my bio on Instagram, which is Allison Keating. One tip, don't listen to it in the car. It's really, 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 really relaxing, and you can totally fall asleep to it. So this is like the easiest exercise in the world. You can listen to it and fall asleep. You can listen to it and let your mind wander off. It doesn't really matter, it still actually works, but it's extremely effective in actually helping you manage any anxiety or panic that's actually coming up for you. And it's something that you can use now or whenever you want. So I hope it helps.
It is, I vouch for it. I've used it. You can use it to start your day or you can use it to end your day. And the little tip is if you're using it to just at the end of the day, you can click off at this perfect time where Alison says, and you will drift into the most beautiful sleep. And if you, otherwise it's amazing. I don't know how it does it, but it can also perk you up and get you going for the day. Thank you, Alison. And we'll just, everyone at the end will give their social handles. So Fiona, next, please. Finally.
Yeah, well, I was hoping to do meditation, but I think it's the time is going on. So what I will do instead is, I think a question is a very good thing to do, to ask yourself. And it's a little bit similar to what Siobhan was saying, but the question is to help you deal with negative thoughts, because a lot of the fear is coming from the thoughts that we're having. So simply asking yourself the question, is that true? So is that true when, for example, you're concerned your parent has COVID-19, or you're so, feeling completely overwhelmed and you're using words like, this is always going to be like this, or when is this going to end, or whatever the thought may be that's causing you stress. Just simply ask yourself, is that true? And it's a really useful technique to help you not to get rid of the thought, but more the thought will start to free of itself in its own way, rather than trying to force it away, which could be a very hard thing to do. And the other thing I would really like it to help you is I am offering my online program, The Positive Habit, for free. It's usually €149, so this is a really wonderful opportunity for people who haven't done it yet and would like to do it. It's there. It's incredibly. It's probably similar to Alison in the sense that when you listen to something once, it's nice, but it's repetition. And the program has been running since 2016, and it's helped people all over the world. So that's there for you. Please do use it and look after yourselves, and know that we are here for you as much as we possibly can. And we're so happy that you came here this evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Fiona. I have listened to a little treat that you gave us. You can listen to it even if you fall asleep whilst listening. It doesn't matter, because what I learned is your subconscious never goes to sleep. So thank you, Fiona. And I'm really looking forward to spending more time with both of your and Alison's gifts. Yes, okay, we've run out of time. Did you see me shake my head when you said no to the meditation? You're right, we have, but I'm still wanted it, but it doesn't matter. You're giving us that gift and we can meditate with it. Also, we're recording this evening, everybody, so we can send it to you. You can share it with your family and friends. This is a free event. We wanted it to be free. There are no hooks. There are no conditions. It is just giving a little bit of what we can, what we each of our experts here this evening, and my job just to point the mic. So we all wanted to give of what we can. Siobhan, your social media handles where people can continue the conversation with each of you. So Siobhan.
So website is www.twistingthejar, and all my social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Instagram and Twitter. So all of them, twistingthejar.com.
Allison.
On Facebook, it's the Be Well Clinic. And then on Twitter and Instagram, it's Allison Keating, and it's just bewell.ie. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming. And thank you, Taragh. And girls, like, you're amazing. Love you all.
Oh, love you all. Fiona. Oh.
Website, Positive Habit, third time lucky. The Positive Habit, Twitter, Fiona Brennan 19, I believe, and Instagram is the Positive Habit Fiona Brennan. So very easy to find. And also Facebook, if anyone uses Facebook anymore, I don't know, but still it's there. And again, thank you, Taragh. You are just an inspiration to us all. And as I said, a ray of sunshine. Literally, like, you do brighten the world. Like, your screen is golden. So thank you so much.
I already hear there's some shouts coming from different parts of this house disagreeing with that. But anyway, just in case as well, you did want to get the books, guys, and you want to listen to them on Audible or buy them. So you have the Burnout Solution, which is Siobhan's, Alison's The Secret Lives of Adults, and also you have Fiona's The Positive Habit. I'm on Twitter at TaraghLG, so TARAGHLG. Would love to hear from you. And I'm really looking forward to seeing some of you face to face, hopefully at our next event, which will hopefully get to be face-to-face. Otherwise, we'll be back with you online. We'll be back with you for another one of these, but we will let you know. Thank you, Siobhan. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Fiona. And thank you all for being in my lives and for getting to know you all. And I'm honored to be able to help you guys get your messages out there. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back with you soon. And meanwhile, see you on social. Bye. Bye from Siobhan. Bye from Allison. Bye from Fiona.